Yeah, just for noise. All right, you all set?
All right, good evening. We are at the Town Council Appointment Negotiations Committee meeting on October 9th, 2024. Call the meeting to order. In attendance, we have Councillor Katarina and Councillor Seither and myself, Councillor Shute. We do have a moment for public comment. If there's anyone online or in the public here who'd like to make a comment. There's nobody. Okay, so we went to item number 4, which is the approval of the minutes from the April 10th, 2024 meeting.
So second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Who's
All in
gonna
favor?
take that up?
No, you know, that cadence, I don't know. I'm gonna have a hard time not saying it myself, because I'm just programmed. You say so moved and I'm like.
I don't know how I'm gonna do that.
So item number 5 was something that I had brought up, was a discussion on appointments and negotiation committee procedures, just because I don't know if I'll be on appointments next year, who knows what committees we'll be on, so I thought it might be helpful to have a quick conversation about what's useful, what isn't useful, how we could maybe be a little more efficient. So, I mean, I have a list of things that I wanted to go through. I don't know if either of you had any feedback, or you wanted me to just start the conversation about how the meetings are run and we prepare for them.
No, I'd like
Yeah,
to
I
hear
would
what you
say,
have to say.
go ahead and start with
Sure.
your list, and
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of it overlaps with what I made from it, so.
So I think one of the things we talked about was staff recommendations. I think we should. I think maybe in the past, there's been a couple times where we didn't have it, and I think we should have it consistently for every opening, every committee. Have them review all of the applications and give their recommendation. And so I think that would be good to be consistent with that and have that. I think what happened this time was we had a resignation from the Conservation Commission. So if we can maybe make a procedure of like just checking right before we make the agenda the week before, we won't miss that. Like, so I mean, I literally was like on the soccer field this weekend and he's like, I submitted my application for Conservation Commission. I'm like, I forgot there's an opening and I didn't it didn't connect with me. And so I think it would be helpful to check in, make sure. And then also, I mean, if you have a committee that someone's not active on, that's what happened with the Conservation Commission. We kind of created an opening because someone was not showing up. So
Should we have I hate to say deadline, but in order to be considered for, like, say, ANC's meeting on X date. And if you're interested in, we know, these are the openings, we need your
Yep.
application by the Thursday prior or
yeah,
whatever.
so Kristen and I just had a quick conversation. I don't know, I don't feel like my response. I do recruit people. So there are times where I have been bugging someone to apply to a board, and sometimes they submit their application a couple of days before. I really think it's up to the committee at that point. Where personally, if I've been working on it, I'm a resident and I know they'd be good on the committee and they finally dragged their feet and like they got it in, I would be more inclined to make motions on that because of the scenario I just described. Where I don't really know. And I think maybe that's for the clerk to say, it's probably overwhelming for you.
Yeah,
You're processing applications after.
that's it. It would be nice to have some form of deadline, because like this week, for example, with elections,
Yeah,
if something came in.
Yeah.
Starting Monday, we wouldn't have even
Right.
touched it.
Right.
and it gives, you want the committee members to have a chance to review what's come
Right.
in to also.
Yep.
And to me, if someone's that interested in serving on a committee, and it doesn't matter whether you recruited them,
Right.
I've recruited them, or whomever. If they're that interested, they're gonna get it in by the deadline.
Yep.
Or they should.
I also think, the committee has the power to table something, and
Yeah.
so I think if we set the hard deadline and we say, this is the packet as it stands, the Wednesday before the meeting. This is what we're gonna be considering, but then the clerk says to us, I want everyone to be aware that 2 additional applications did come in since your packets. Per our policy,
Yeah.
they're not included. if you would like to consider them, then the recommendation would be to table the
Okay,
nomination.
Yeah, that's
And,
reasonable.
and I think that that's just, that kind of gets us out of that gray area.
right.
And then when we, or whoever's on on A&N, I always want to say A and C. Whoever's on A&N next year will have that predictability of Wednesday, the one email. You're not trying to chase down a bunch of different emails or look at different places for the packet. So I would be fine if we had a hard deadline with the caveat that the clerk will let us know
Yeah,
or the committee
like
know
that.
if there's other applications that come in.
We can add that to the application too, like on the top, that this
Yeah.
is the deadline for. meeting.
Oh, yeah, like the first Wednesday,
Right.
or, well, it depends on when you guys end up
Well,
having.
we could say, applications will be considered, applications received a week prior to.
Yeah.
appointments and negotiations.
Right.
I think that's just a
Just
standard.
general language.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
All right, I think that's great.
And then I think April just touched on one of my other requests was just that we have it all together in one email. Just because I'm struggling with the multiple emails and getting it all together. And I think creating these deadlines and these hard stops will lead itself to us
Yeah.
only having that one email
Yeah.
from now on. So I think that kind of solves that problem.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion just in terms of the agenda itself? Perhaps having a placeholder in your agenda for clerk's office update at the onset of the meeting.
Okay.
If you call it to call meeting in order, review the meeting minutes, clerk's office update. You could, they could report out on any developments since the packet was sent out
Okay.
to include additional applications received, perhaps additional resignations or vacancies. But just as a matter of practice, having that part of your standing thing that reporting out on vacancies as of the meeting,
Okay.
nominations or applications received, just so you can have and then you can decide again whether you want to table any recommendations based on changes in applications.
Yeah, I like
I think
that.
that's good.
Yeah.
And it.
And that way also the
Having
clerk's
it be
office
a
has
standing thing
essentially
on.
2 steps. They're looking at what's received to date a week prior to the meeting, and then anything that's changed or been updated in a week
Yeah,
prior.
okay. Yeah,
Does that make
that's-
it more
yeah.
manageable for you, Kristen, as
Yeah,
well? Okay.
That
all right.
works.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I mean, and the only other thing I wanted to just review quickly was the yearly renewal procedure and process, because that is coming up. And I know you guys are super busy.
Yeah, you want me to talk about that a little bit, what we've already done for it?
Yeah.
So I've actually already pulled out the list going of who is terming out, because now that is something we have to look at.
Yeah.
Those individuals, we already have the letter waiting to go out, knowing the election was here. Letting them know that they've termed out and what that would look like. Then we also have letters started for everyone else who is expiring in the end of the year, but is not termed out. And letting them know that, because this was what the practice was last year, which we can tweak it. That they would need to submit their application by this deadline, so then the January meeting.
Yep.
Can be determined, and if everyone's submitting an application, because I know that was an issue. Last time, is we requested everyone to submit applications again. So that's what the process was gonna look like, which if you guys want something else, we can, but.
The only initial response I have is if someone's terming out, can we recommend or encourage them to maybe apply to a different
That
committee?
is in there,
Perfect.
that they
Because
have,
I
they can't,
don't want to lose people.
Yeah.
I want to like.
that they have to wait 1 year to go back to the current committee they're on. But then there's, look out on the website for other openings.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, ideally, it would be great if someone's terming out that they reapply maybe to something else and they're part of the renewal process just on a different committee. Okay, I think that's great. What do you guys think about people submitting a new application every time? Every time they're renewed? Seems a little excessive, maybe.
less paperwork.
I wonder if,
Unless something's really changed in their life.
and I just wonder if maybe. Like. How far back we go, like how old these applications are, if you have, if we're renewing people who in the last year have filled an application, I do think it seems redundant for them to fill out another one.
Some of them could be 3 years or older.
Right.
I mean, the thought behind it, my understanding from Tony is the thought behind having them do it was to review their experience and knowledge against new applicants.
Yeah,
To make
it
it fair across the board,
It
I think
is.
was the reason originally behind it, but. So applications are kept for 1 year.
Oh, okay.
So some of the old ones we may not have anymore.
Yeah,
Likely anyone that's, unless they fill out a new application for a different committee.
We may not have it.
I understand it require, my 2 cents.
Yeah.
I don't care, if you care. I mean, it seems like if we have people who are only on one committee, asking them to complete an application once every 3 years doesn't seem particularly reasonable. And I think that if we have people who are saying, as we have, I'm willing to do that.
oh, yeah,
That suggests, perhaps that should suggest to some the level of commitment maybe. They're willing to. So I think that way you can actually see apples to apples. These are the people we have. This would be a renewal of someone who's been on it. These would be a new appointment. And then the committee can make a determination based on that.
Yeah,
My opinion would definitely lean towards having everybody fill out the application, just because this was my first time on this committee. And so having someone be up for renewal and not knowing anything about
Yeah.
them. And not even having so much as a cover sheet on them, and then
True.
having a packet full of, new and exciting,
Interesting
interesting
people.
people. It makes it really challenging to put everybody on a level playing field if
Yeah.
I don't have an application for each person.
which then brings up, in my mind. What if you've got someone who's done a super job, they've been on a committee, but their time is, they've got to renew, so to speak. But you've got all these other interesting people, and so. You'd rather have someone new than this other person, bring someone new, and then you get into some. This is why having these meetings open, so to speak, is a little dicey, because to
tough
me,
with
it's
this
almost.
committee.
It's like personnel, this is like personnel matters in some respects. But I don't know enough about what the state law and rules are regarding.
I mean, I think it's our discretion.
Yeah.
And I think part of us using our discretion, and if we do the applications, I think that sort of justifies us. I mean, it was not easy, but this past year we replaced 2 people on Conservation Commission because we had amazing applications. And that's where I'm going, we're gonna lose these people, and that's not,
Yeah,
but I also think the town is changing, and I think there's some really good residents that are now wanting to volunteer. And so we need to,
but do we have something in case there is something that's gonna be a little more hot button than others? We can go into executive
You
session?
guys did executive session for the ad hoc community services.
right,
Yeah,
right.
I think that's been over the last years, that's been sort of the standing fallback position.
Okay.
In the event there's a concern about a
Right.
specific candidate, the committee should exercise their ability to go into an executive session to discuss that concern.
yeah,
I think the general recommendation with regard to appointing people is, the general guidance is to speak, with the positives, right?
Right.
I like
Right.
this candidate
Right.
because I like what they bring, and then
Right.
perhaps through the,
Right.
reading between the lines, that would be probably a better process.
that's always been my concern with.
Okay, so when does everyone have to get back to you about renewing?
The date, is what we have. So we were originally assuming that it would be discussed in the January meeting.
So the second Wednesday, Thursday on the same cadence.
We were gonna be sending out the letters the week after the election. And they were gonna have to get back to us by the end of the month, end of November. So we'd have the month of December to go through them, organize it and have it ready for the new committee.
So.
January, the committees start meeting again, and technically these people would be expired, so like, well, I guess not
They stay on
expired,
until they're.
Yeah.
They stay on until they're replaced.
okay.
So there was, I can't remember what committee last year we didn't do it till February or March. Those people
Right.
stayed on until they were replaced. There's no gaps.
I
Would
mean,
you like different dates?
I mean, I know you guys are busy with elections, I guess I just thought if you had it all done by January, then the committees are meeting for that month and they know what their committee is. But I realize that's a lot of work, maybe, I don't know.
When does the new council?
Yeah,
get
in
sworn
terms of
in?
thinking about timeline, right, like, so, you know, speaking realistically and from experience, especially bringing three
Three
new
new
counselors
people,
on, so we won't have any if
Right,
committees that are intact still. Um, you know, the council chair usually makes those determinations in December, and then by the second week of December, the council votes on those approvals, and then, yeah, like that, they start to self-organize, you know, usually for a meeting in January, and it totally depends on cadence. Sometimes I've been on committees where we've had a one-off meeting in January, and then we establish when our standing meeting is gonna be. And we move forward from there. But I would say if knowing that these appointments. Like knowing that the appointment packets are gonna be ready by January 15th, then that's the parameter that appointments and negotiations would have to work with, and I would feel comfortable with.
But I thought when I, 2 years ago, or when I first started, we met in just like the beginning of December and redid all the appointments, if I remember correctly. And I think,
I think that was unique.
and that's why I'm asking, because I was like, that was like, bam, welcome Karen, and this is what we're doing. And it was like, I mean. This is
That
a
may
little
have been just
experience,
because
but
you
like,
came
Were
on
you
as
the
the
only new
only
person?
counselor.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, she was, because she and I were
Oh,
elected the
that's
same
right.
year.
Yeah.
That's right.
So yeah, we did it January 10th last year.
Okay.
That's what we did.
Yeah, I was thinking January.
So I think it was the year before.
Mhm.
That doesn't surprise me if you were the only. new
I was, it
counselor
was
somewhat,
just me,
yeah.
I was the new one, so, okay, maybe that's why. Okay. That's for the next committee, but I think I'm fine with all that.
Okay.
Okay, so on to the next item, which is review applications of possible action to various committees, boards with vacancies. Thank you, Kristen, for updating this. Please bear with me, I tried to be organized. Okay, so first we have the Coastal Waters Harbor Advisory Committee. We have a vacancy for a voting position. And so I think we're gonna follow normal procedure here and move people up. So we'd be looking to appoint someone as a second alternate.
Mhm.
We received recommendations from Darren Ganata, the harbor master. I did just have a conversation with Kristen outside, so if you wanna hang tight and listen to me for a minute. Darren actually wanted to pick Mark Simpson, but when he found out that Mark was recommended for planning board, he said, oh, Brittany's fine. I will not be recommending Mark later. And so I just wanted to point that out. I think either of them are fine. But that was not like completely relayed where I think, and that's maybe where I can work with staff is be like, this is great, where they're like first pick, second pick. Because I didn't realize that, Darren wanted Mark and then recommended Brittany. I think either of them are fine. But I think as I mentioned before, my recommendation for planning is gonna be someone else.
So your recommendation for coastal waters is
Would be Mark
Mark
Simpson. Yeah, but I think that's maybe we should do planning board first.
If they do go to different order.
Do you think we should do planning board first and have that discussion?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
care.
Do you wanna do that?
You have a different recommendation.
Sorry, that's
That's
why I
okay.
said, bear with me here.
No worries.
I'm learning that that's probably, so let's do planning board.
Okay.
So we lost Noah on planning board.
It's very sad.
I'm so sad.
Thank you, Nova, for
and
your
so
many, many years.
I know. We got him for what we did.
Yeah.
So right now Bennett is the second alternate. I would be recommending to move Bennett up to the first alternate. And then we have applications from Mike Campbell, Tyler Davis, Liam Erickson, Brittany Jackson, Mark Simpson, and Rudy Karen. So with the one opening, I'm gonna be recommending Rudy Karen, I served with Rudy for years on the zoning board. He's meticulous. His attention to detail is beyond myself. He's lived in Scarborough, I think, for 6 years. I think he was a really valuable, methodical, kind of black and white sort of member that I think did really well on the zoning board. And I think he would pick up planning board very easily, where even I struggled transitioning to planning board. I think it was a little bit overwhelming and a lot, but if you work in that field, it's probably not as much. Again, we do have other applications. I don't know, do you guys have any thoughts?
So I know I'm looking at this,
I know,
so,
it's,
so we've got. The vacancies is first alternate.
yeah, so I,
So Tyler Davis is already on the planning board and was moving up to first alternate.
nope. Tyler is not on it. Tyler is on coastal waters right now.
Okay, but Autumn is saying she would like to appoint Tyler Davis.
Yep.
And then her second choice was Michael Campbell. All right.
I think again, I think the only thing I can say is that Rudy's application doesn't, I think, do a great job of representing what he brings to the table. So I think when he was on zoning board, he was really good. I did express a little bit of concern about appointing a brand new resident to a planning board, not knowing kind of what's going on in town, what we've been talking about, kind of what our values have been recently. And so that's why I made that recommendation, because I think he's the only one who's lived in Scarborough the longest.
I think,
Besides,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
yep, no, that's it.
I think based on the applications, that. I also have reservations about, what a heavy lift planning board is. And just in terms of how much knowledge, of the town is kind of required. And I understand also that this is just a second alternate position, and so there's lots of room for growth there. But of the applicant, specifically for, Michael Campbell's application, he selected a number of other committees and boards.
And he's only been here a month.
He's only been here a month, and, I know we're gonna have vacancies,
A lot, yeah.
Good.
coming up for volunteer opportunities, when people begin to term out. And so I would be okay, maintaining his resume or his application rather for future committee, and moving Rudy Campbell to the second,
Yeah,
sorry, Rudy Karen to the second.
I'm fine with that too. I'd second that.
Okay, so let me do the real thing here then.
Okay,
All right, so the recommendation is to move Bennett Flanders from the second alternate to the first alternate with a term to expire in 2026. And then appoint Rudy Karen as the second alternate with a term to expire in 2024.
Right. So moved.
second,
All in favor? Okay,
That was easy.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
So now that makes more sense, maybe to go back. To the coastal
we're on
waters.
coastal waters.
And so we have, I think the two recommendations coming from staff was either Mark Simpson or Brittany Jackson. Again, two residents, I think they both filled out to be on multiple committees. I know Darren's first pick was Mark Simpson. Yeah, so I mean, Mark kind of makes sense here with his background.
He's got a pretty extensive background.
He does.
In a lot of things, so. Here's where I'm going. I like the Brittany Jackson because we need some diversity
Okay,
on coastal waters and harbor.
that's a good point.
And I think it would be, it's helpful to have someone who's not necessarily in the fishing industry.
Different
Maybe a
perspective.
different perspective, so that's why I would support what Darren wants.
Okay,
There,
Yep, that's fine.
So,
All right, so this is what it's gonna look like, because we're gonna move some people up.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna. Did you have a question?
Do we have, sorry, I'm looking for Mark Simpson's application cover sheet. Did he only apply to,
no.
No.
Apply to
He applied to like
another.
a bunch.
okay, oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
he's
this
got a whole
list is here.
list.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Okay, thanks, yeah. So recommendation is to, for the Coastal Waters and Harbor Advisory Committee is to move Robert Odlin from the first alternate to a full voting member with a term to expire in 2026. Move Tyler Davis from the second alternate to the first alternate with a term to expire in 2025. And appoint Brittany Jackson as the second alternate with a term to expire in 2026.
So move.
Second,
All in favor? Okay. Now we have the Conservation Commission. Um. I did not. Have an. Was this the one we didn't have an application for Kate? Okay, it's in the new one.
To the packet, yeah.
So all I will say is, I had not seen Kate's application. The other application that I was considering was Creighton Silsby. Creighton has been asking me for months how to get involved. We talked about like what committees to do. He thought this might be the best one, but also. He doesn't really volunteer anything else, but as we said before, we have a lot of other openings coming up. So I know, Jean Marie, you were saying you thought Kate
I know Kate really well,
really
and I
good.
think she'd be fabulous in this position. Both for the breadth of knowledge she brings to the town.
Mhm.
She was a town council back in the 90s, I think it was.
Okay.
And she's very committed to natural, to be. I can't even talk at this hour of the night, I've been all day. Conservation
Yeah,
and preservation of land and whatnot, given her background.
yeah.
Plus, I have to put a pitch in for her because she is a beekeeper too, so.
Right?
just also of note on her application, she only applied for
Correct.
conservation.
I noticed that as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So out of respect for everything she's done, I would like to appoint her to the Conservation Commission.
Okay, so. We didn't- Oh, perfect. Okay, so the recommendation is to appoint Kate. How do you
Or
say-
do us,
Borduas as the second alternate for the Conservation Commission with a term to expire in 2026.
so moved.
Second,
All in favor? Okay. All right, and then we have the Community Services Rep Advisory Board. We had a resignation from the second alternate. Todd reviewed all the applications and gave a recommendation that I think is good. For Daryl Wright. Looks like that's, I think Daryl only applied to this committee. He did.
Yep.
Oh, it looks like he's worked with Art Dillon in the past, which Art is on that committee as well. So I mean, I think if those guys have this, Art brings a lot to that committee. I think that's a great recommendation. Okay.
Wait a minute, what am I doing?
Community Services,
Yeah, okay.
it was
Daryl Wright.
Daryl Wright.
Cause I'm just gonna, Penny Whitney as Dorian has been applying for this forever, but she's also works, doesn't she work for?
She
community
does,
services
yep,
in the
and
summer?
she does, yep.
Which is to me, is that a conflict?
It was a question I threw out there. I didn't really get a
Yeah.
response, but I do think there's like a little bit of like because she's been attending the meetings and giving good feedback, but it's almost like she's attending a staff.
yeah.
Yeah,
She has been.
and I've known her for
And I think
years.
that's
know
where,
her
I
for years,
wonder
yeah.
if that's kind of where a little bit of the recommendation comes from is,
Yeah,
and so I believe that's why we have that.
yeah, I mean, I can go with whoever you guys.
Yeah,
want.
Daryl Wright seems like a very excellent candidate
Yep.
to me.
So the recommendation would be to appoint Darrell Wright as the second alternate with a term to expire in 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Well, now that I'm reading Daryl's thing, I know who he is.
Yeah.
When we saw the Gorham School Board. School committee, yeah. Anyway. Never mind.
Okay. So then we get to long-range planning. Which we have a first alternate opening. So we have recommendation from Autumn. I think, did we just appoint Mark? No, we didn't.
No,
We
see,
appointed
Mark's got,
Brittany.
Mark's got he's got an amazing resume.
He does, again, I think especially with long-range planning, I mean, I guess I don't know if any of these applicants
No.
have lived here long.
That Michael Campbell's been here a month.
Yeah, so Tyler, I was leaning towards Tyler, he's lived here a year.
And so is Simpson,
Simpson's only been here.
fall of
2
23,
months.
fall of 23. Oh, okay. No, that's a year. I'm losing track of time here. Simpson's been here a year too.
Oh, because the application's like old.
No, it says under his other information, it says, my family recently moved back to the area after purchasing home in Scarborough in the fall of 2023.
Oh, okay, his application says he's lived here 2 months, that's why.
Yeah, so
Oh.
Michael Campbell's application says how long have you lived in Scarborough? 1 month, but it's dated February of 2024. So he'll be coming up on
Yeah.
his.
That's the thing, when we keep an
Right.
application the year.
Well,
it
right.
looks-
Oh, yeah.
This also speaks to how long that they've had an application on file too.
Right.
This is for long range.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm looking at Simpson's background, urban development, public policy. He's political science. Geek. But
do you think,
Professor.
would this be the best committee for someone like that?
I think so.
And I don't know a lot about long range, that's why I ask.
Oh, yeah, no, because it's mostly planning stuff. It's
Right.
like giving direction to which way we want to go.
Yeah,
And like the growth ordinances, GMOs, they get involved pretty much as kind of like
Sustainability initiative
laboratory.
and emergency preparedness. those
yeah,
are-
I mean, this guy's done a lot. I don't know, I just think he's got, it'd be interesting to hear, to me, it'd be also interesting to have someone on long range planning who's fairly new.
Yep.
To to Scarborough,
Okay, this is Mark Simpson.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that is the recommendation that Autumn gave.
In his thesis. His thesis was focused on long-term development strategy. Crafted by government officials in Mesa, Arizona, after World War II. That's kind of interesting.
All right. Okay, so do we like Mark?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so the recommendation would be to appoint Mark Simpson as the first alternate with a term to expire in 2024.
No. Is that right? Sorry, what about moving Judy Fisher from?
That was not recommended.
No, it says move Fisher from second alternate, first alternate, with a term to expire 2026. And move. Second, for
Oh, I
the
thought the
second alternate.
recommendation was with that. Okay, and the recommendation from staff was to not move her. I'm sorry, I know it's negative.
Oh,
And I think it's not related in here.
I don't even know her and I'm on long range
No, we
planning.
appointed her, she just was looking to volunteer, and I think, I obviously have no context, really.
Well, I'm just saying I'm on long range
Okay,
planning.
yeah.
And I don't know who she is.
Then maybe that's why the recommendation is.
Is
that-
to appoint a first alternate.
Yes.
Okay,
I think
that's fine.
That's
I just
fine,
wanted to
whatever.
make
Yeah,
sure
no, it is,
per
it is.
our packet, that's
And-
fine.
No, I apologize if I don't know her, but.
No, that's.
No, I think- Henry, do you want me to close?
Yeah, if you don't mind. I'm sitting there going. Thank you. You must be a school teacher.
There, yeah, the procedure to move people up every single time comes from staff.
I think it's important to get general feedback from staff. Because they're trying to get to work with these groups.
They
Yeah.
know what they
And
need.
They
and
know
who
what they
want,
need
yeah.
and who brings what,
Yeah.
and. I think I hesitate, because I would hate to have a worksheet that literally says, don't move this person up, but if that's what we need to do, so we're not. So it's very clear what the recommendation is from staff, maybe moving forward, we can do
Yeah.
that. And then
And
that's
that's
again,
fine,
and
and that's fine.
and then,
So she can, Judith Fisher can stay
Stay
second
as
alternate,
second alternate,
and
we're
Simpson
appointing
is
Mark
first.
Simpson as first.
yep, okay,
And
so
that's the
it would be, okay, so the recommendation is to appoint Mark Simpson as a first alternate with a term to expire in 2024.
Yep. So moved.
Second, all in favor? Right. Okay. And then we just have shellfish. Maybe.
3
Hold on.
vacancies, wow.
Can I,
Yep.
and it's totally fine, we've made the motion, I just wanna make sure.
Yep.
So. Mark Simpson is the first alternate with a term to expire in 2024, so we're appointing him, and then he's immediately gonna be up for renewal.
There was another one that was like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
there is
all right, I
another-
just wanna make,
Yeah, I know, I
just
saw
wanna
that
be
too.
sure that
But
that
he can
was
get
the
it,
right-
get his feet wet.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that that was the right date,
Yeah.
for me, thank you.
Okay, so then we have the Shellfish Conservation Commission. And we had 3 openings.
Three applications.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
There was I will tell you, there was a 4th application who was under 18.
Oh.
We did find out that you can't serve if you're underage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's cool.
So they're tech-
Wanted to be involved.
He did, so there was technically 4, but
When does he turn 18?
he's
He or she?
14.
No,
Oh, he's-
that is so cute.
Oh my
I really know who it is.
I
We
think
took
that,
him out of.
that's
the group.
amazing.
That is
I think
amazing.
it's so cool.
A particular young
Can we have a
man
can we have a junior member?
has his own campaign against green crabs.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, is I know
Yes,
who he is,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd
Good
be
for him.
awesome.
We didn't check though, it was not allowed.
He can still go to meetings and make his
Yeah.
wishes known or his ideas.
Um,
That's interesting.
so again, Darren Granata got a chance to review all the applications and. I mean, all of these applications are amazing,
Yes,
which is
they
so
are.
great to have on such an important committee. So I'm thrilled that we have 3 people who are gonna fill these 3 spots. Great.
Yep,
I think the recommendation for the full voting members and alternate is fine. Okay.
yep.
So the recommendation would be to. Appoint Andy Blanchard as a full voting member with a term to expire in 2026. Appoint Jason Cork as a full voting member. Oh, no. Oh, they're all full voting members.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's none.
Jason Cork as a full voting member with a term to expire in 2025. And then Eric Cork as the first alternate with a term to expire in 2026.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
There's only one alternate on that.
You know, thank you. It's like you're reading my mind. I'm like, no, just not gonna ask.
There's only one.
That's it.
I believe that is all.
That's everybody.
Cool.
So I guess I will just say, like, generally, this is the first time that we are timing people out. I'm feeling like we should encourage our current committee members and committees we're on. Liaisons for people to, if they're not being renewed, to stay involved. And try to get more applications or get them to do different committees. I'm hoping that we won't have a problem in January filling all these different spots.
I don't care.
Well, I know you don't care.
I know.
We know you don't care,
I do care.
but,
Maybe I'll apply for something. after I get out.
there you go.
I think I'll take some time off.
Right, sure. Otherwise, that's all I got.
Cool.